Hey guys, today I want to talk about something that came up when I was having a conversation with my best friend yesterday, because she told me, like, playing around, she was like, sometimes I wish I could ask King Solomon, like, what were you thinking having so many wives when the Bible clearly says that a king should not have so many wives? And I told her, you know what I think he was thinking? You know how the Bible in First Chronicles chapter 22 verses 9 through 10 says that God told King David, right, that his son Solomon was going to be a man of peace and a man of rest, etc., etc. And King Solomon knew this, obviously. So I think he was thinking, well, how can I help God to make sure that his prophetic word comes to pass? Well, let me marry all these women so that then I can have a lot of allies and then there will be peace all around, you know? And I was like, the thing is that I see throughout the Bible how so many people want to help God with his words. Like they feel like the prophetic word, they have to do something, or they have to take control, or they have to manipulate the situation in order for God to be faithful and truthful. It just doesn't make sense, but it's the reality. We see how when Rebecca in the Bible, in Genesis 25:23, when God tells Rebecca, you have two nations in your womb, right? And your younger son is going to serve the older son. What does she do? Does she believe God that, he's going to make a way and he's the way maker and he's going to make it happen? Or does she believe that she has to control the situation, manipulate the situation, and do something in order for the word to come to pass? That's exactly what she feels she has to do. So she tag teams with her son to deceive his father. And we see that because of this, the same thing, it brought chaos, just like I did with King Solomon marrying all these women. So now, what you sow, you reap. So now, this poor man, right, Jacob, is sowing deceit all around. He sows deceit with his two wives tag teaming with their father to deceive him when he married Leah instead of Rachel. Again, we see how Laban deceives him with the wages when they make that deal that Jacob's going to continue to work for him, right, for the wages. And then the third time is when Rachel is leaving, when they're leaving, and Rachel is on her camel and she's sitting on her father's idols, and the father tells Jacob, like, why did you take my idols? And Jacob says, well, if anyone here has your idols, they're gonna die, or like, let them die. And what happens is that shortly after, when Rebecca is delivering Benjamin, she dies. Why? Because words have power. So this man, like, got deceived so many times. Like, he sowed one deceit, he reaped triple, right? And then we see again the same continuation when God tells Abraham that you're gonna have a son, and he's like, no, I don't have anyone to give my inheritance to. Who's gonna get everything? Is it gonna be my servant Eliezer? And God is like, no, I'm gonna give you a son. And God tells him this more than once. God tells him that. We see this in Genesis 15:4-5. We see this in Genesis 17:15. We see this again after he had even had Ishmael. But what happens is that now his wife is like, well, God said this, but it's clearly not happening. We don't see it. So now they're not walking by faith. Now they're walking by sight. We don't see it. So this is what you're going to do. We're going to manipulate the situation. We're going to have control, and we're going to make sure that God's word comes to happen, like to pass, because this is God's will, because clearly he said it. So we're going to make it happen for him. Like, he needs help, right? So she tells her husband to sleep with her maid servant, the Egyptian servant, right? And then he has Ishmael, and we see the chaos that brings, even to this day, how they're still at war, Ishmael and Isaac's descendants, right? So because he slept with Hagar. So it's like, when God gives us a word, we partner with the word. We believe, we have faith in the word, right? We put ourselves open to the word. We do not manipulate and take control and make sure that, I'm going to make sure that this word happens. Like, we are not God, When we do that, this is when we see all of this. This is when we see all of this chaotic stuff happen. So I just wanted to share this. Trust God when he speaks to you. Trust him. He is God. He does not need human intervention, especially when it's ungodly, especially when it's something that it goes against his word. Like, we obviously see that God told the kings not to have many wives. So why would King Solomon think that that's okay? We obviously know that deceit is not godly. Like, God is not the author of deceit. Like, that is the enemy, right? And here we see with Jacob that his mother deceives. And then with Abraham, like, come on, God is telling you he's going to give you someone to inherit, a son. He's not going to want to give that to you with a servant outside of your marriage. Like, I don't know. But And these are all men and women of God. Like, these are all people that were serving God. So it's not like they're just random people that don't know the voice of God or that don't know God. But yeah, I want to leave this with you. Also, just a little nugget. My mentors were telling me how, well, they were telling the team how one of their friends, 3 prophet friends of his, called him and told him, like, hey, you know, we see that God is saying not to go to Venezuela for some reason. Like, we keep feeling God is telling us to warn you not to go to Venezuela. And he says once the 3rd prophet told him, he's like, okay, I'm not going to Venezuela, you know, because the Bible talks about 2 or 3 witnesses. So sure enough, when the day that he had rented a hotel to go to be at Venezuela, that's when the 2 earthquakes hit, and the place that he had rented completely crumbled. So he was showing my mentors, you know, the tickets and everything, and he was like, look, you know, how God warns and how faithful God is. So it's very important for us to have one another, because God will use the people around you to give you warnings, to speak to you, to minister to you, etc., etc. And that's just a little nugget that I wanted to throw in there. But thanks for watching, guys. God bless you, and have a nice day.